For the veteran players out there, you remember loading into a Dead by Daylight match and feeling like you were spinning a wheel of chaos? You never knew which killer you'd get or what strange collection of perks your teammates were bringing. It was a time of creativity and randomness, where you'd throw together the weirdest builds just to see what happened. Hiding in a locker felt like a genuinely smart play, even if it never really was. And the whole point was to survive this unscripted horror movie you were starring in. But now things just feel different. The experience has shifted away from being a horror game, becoming more like a competitive sport you forgot to study for. That original feeling of fun has been slowly replaced by a feeling of pressure. And the question that so many of us have, the one that probably brought you here, is what happened? Why has Dead by Daylight, a game so many of us have loved for so many years, started to feel like a stressful job instead of a fun escape? Before we dive in, I want to take this opportunity to thank the very first channel member, Polo. Like I said before, 100% of the proceeds from channel memberships will be donated to the local animal shelters that I work with. So thank you so much for helping a great cause, Polo. To figure out where the fun went, we have to start with the gameplay itself. Over the years, a quiet but relentless arms race has been building between survivors and killers. Success is less about who's the better player and more about who's running the more optimized machine. Let's start on the survivor side. The goal used to be simple, do gens and get out. Now, for a lot of high-level players, the goal is to solve the game like a math problem. Survivor gameplay has evolved from a desperate scramble into a highly coordinated, almost scientific process. You see these teams, often on voice comms, running builds designed for pure, ruthless efficiency. Every perk, every item, every move is calculated to waste as much of the killer's time as possible. They take turns running the killer, perfectly timed body blocks, and call out your every move. It's honestly impressive to watch, but it also creates a skill ceiling so high that it often leaves the killer feeling completely powerless. For so many of us, it feels like every single match is a tournament final, and that casual, scrappy fun is just gone. Even when the coordination isn't there, it feels like the survivor base just plays better. They've been given powerful base kit tools over the years, as well as gained a lot of skill in the game, even in solo queue. Not to mention things like 40-second solo generators and dozens of pallets per map is making things more frustrating even without comms. Naturally, this forced the other side to adapt, and that's how we get the rise of the sweaty killer. If you're a killer main, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You load in, and 2 generators pop before you even finished your first chase. You finally get someone down, and before you can even get a hook, you're getting blinded from 3 different directions. The pressure is just insane. To have a shot at these hyper-efficient squads, killers have been pushed into strategies that are, frankly, no fun for anyone. This is where the game's most frustrating mechanics have shifted from being mere options into feeling like the requirements. Hard tunneling, which is focusing one survivor out of the game as fast as you can, becomes the only logical play to stay ahead. Killers feel forced into these oppressive playstyles just to keep up, which in turn creates an experience for survivors that feels punishing, unfair, and miserable, especially if you're playing alone. The meta often boils down to a handful of powerful builds, which makes the gameplay feel stale and repetitive. This all creates a vicious cycle. Survivors optimize to beat killers, killers optimize to beat survivors, and the actual fun gets trampled in the crossfire. To be absolutely clear, I don't blame either side for using the tools available to them. I don't blame survivors for gen rushing and running the cream of the crop meta perks. They have to do it when every killer they're facing is tunneling, slugging, and playing S-tier killers. At the same time, I don't blame killers for tunneling, slugging, or running S-tier killers to keep up. They have to do that to compete with the 40-second generators and all the pallets that the survivors have. Both sides are unwilling participants in an arms race that behavior is propagating. They create the disease and sell us the medicine at the same time in the form of perks and killers. If the meta arms race is the fuel, then the engine driving this whole sweatfest is skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM. On paper, it sounds perfect, a system that puts you in matches with players of a similar skill level to keep things fair. In reality, SBMM has a huge, and arguably negative, impact on the very soul of Dead by Daylight. The main problem is that SBMM largely eliminates the variety that made this game so endlessly replayable. There are no more chill games because the system constantly tries to put you in a lobby where you have a coin flip's chance of winning. Every single match becomes a test of your absolute peak performance. You're perpetually locked into a struggle against people who are just as skilled, just as optimized, and just as determined as you are to win. Now that's not inherently a bad thing, but the way SBMM goes about it is fundamentally flawed. Variety is a good thing. I have a video that came out recently talking about SBMM and why I largely believe, along with Choi, that the original ranked system was way better for the game. The way MMR works, especially for survivors, is brutally simple. You gain rank for escaping, and you lose it if you die. While the developers have hinted other factors might play a small role, your survival is overwhelmingly what matters. This pushes players to be selfish, because the only thing the game system rewards is getting out alive, even if it means leaving your team to die. For killers, it's all about kills. This directly incentivizes the most ruthless tactics because the game itself rewards you for tunneling and camping if it secures a kill. The constant pressure to perform turns the game into a grind. Even if you don't realize it, I've seen many people over the years since SBMM came out attesting for the almost night and day difference it created. Players seem to subconsciously go for the quote-unquote win above all else. Whereas with the previous rank system, kills and escapes didn't matter nearly as much as performing well and pipping. Now the game gives you a very clear win condition: kill/escape at all costs. It creates a feast or famine world where killers either steamroll solo players or get absolutely crushed by a coordinated squad. There's no room left to experiment with silly builds or just mess around for a laugh. If you try to play a weaker, non-meta killer or run a fun perk loadout, SBMM is going to punish you by throwing you against a team that is not messing around. It forces you into a teeny tiny box, demanding you to play optimally at all times or suffer the consequences. And when a game stops being a playground and starts feeling like a performance review, the fun disappears pretty damn quick. This combination of the meta arms race and the SBMM pressure cooker has created a feeling that many of us are struggling with. Dead by Daylight has started to feel more like a job than a game. You clock in, perform tasks under high stress conditions, and just hope for a decent outcome. When you don't get it, it can feel like a personal failure. A big reason we keep playing, even when we aren't having fun, is a phenomenon called the sunken cost fallacy. Look, many of us have been playing this game for years. We've poured in hundreds, if not thousands of hours. We've spent real money on DLCs and cosmetics. We've grinded for millions of blood points to prestige our favorite characters, or in my case, all of the characters. All of that investment creates this powerful feeling of obligation. We feel like we have to keep playing to justify the time and money we've already put in, even if the game itself is now a source of frustration. This is made even worse by the game's own progression systems. The endless blood web, the urge to unlock every perk on every character, the chase for achievements, it's all designed to keep you on a treadmill. The rift system, all the limited time cosmetics, it's all designed in a very specific way. You find yourself logging on to finish a daily ritual or grind this rift instead of feeling genuine excitement for a thrilling match. It turns the game into a checklist of chores. It's the definition of FOMO, or fear of missing out. And you can see the results of this shift in the community. The toxicity, the GGEZ in the in-game chat, the players who quote-unquote go next on their first hook. It can all be seen as a symptom of this larger problem. When a game feels like a high-stakes competition instead of a shared scary story, players become enemies in a way that goes far beyond the simple killer versus survivor dynamic. Teammates become liabilities. An opponent becomes a source of pure frustration. The game that used to bring us together for a good pastime now just seems to drive us apart. So where does that leave us? Is Dead by Daylight still fun? The answer, like many things in Dead by Daylight, is complicated. The casual jump scare filled party game that so many of us fell in love with is, well, it's basically gone, at least at higher levels of play. It's been replaced by a fiercely competitive strategy game that asks a whole lot from its players. Meta arms race has pushed optimization to its limit, and SBMM ensures you're almost always at a match that feels like it's for all the marbles. But that doesn't mean the fun is gone for good, it's just a lot harder to find now. It's hiding. You can still find it in custom games with friends where you all agree to run goofy builds. You can find it when you consciously decide to ignore the meta and play for laughs instead of for escapes or kills. You can find it in those rare, perfect matches where both sides are evenly matched but playing for the thrill of the chase rather than purely for fun. Personally for me, and with Twins main Sage, I watch a lot of her videos, I find my fun in those matches where I get a connection with the survivors, where I get a fun head nod, or when a survivor runs into a wall and turns to look at me really slowly. Or if the killer just barely whiffs an attack and you can see visible, funny frustration as you both kind of laugh about it and move on. Ultimately, the state of Dead by Daylight forces us to make a choice. We can either give in to the relentless grind of the competitive meta, or we can actively choose to hunt for the fun that still exists on the fringes of the game. It takes a real mental shift to value a great chase more than an escape, or a hilarious moment more than a 4K. Maybe the real way to win Dead by Daylight today is to redefine victory, focusing less on escaping or sacrificing everyone and more on simply finding a way to enjoy yourself against all odds. Maybe we should throw away Patrick's hockey analogy that kills equals skill and just define our own win condition. Funny enough, many of the players I see having fun in Dead by Daylight are the new players in my comments. Honestly, I'm pretty jealous. I'm thrilled for you, don't get me wrong, but I would love to be able to learn from you and help myself and other DBD vets have more fun in this game that we all love, and sometimes hate. Well, often hate. If you're having fun in Dead by Daylight, what do you enjoy about it? If you're a veteran, is the game still fun for you? Have you felt this shift from casual horror to a competitive sweatfest? Most importantly, what do you do to keep the game fun? Let me know in the comments, you might help me and a lot of other players. And if any of this frustration resonated with you, consider liking the video and subscribing for more discussions about the game. This game that we love and often love to hate. I'm still very new to this whole YouTube thing. I've only been going for about a month now. Seeing all of your comments and subscriptions really helps keep me motivated to keep going. Thank you all for giving me this outlet to express my opinions. And as always, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the fog.